Hello everyone, good morning. Today is Monday, June the 10th, 2019. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Well, if not, don't get discouraged. Things will get better, I promise. Well, as long as you are alive, there is hope. Yes, sometimes we feel completely out of it. We don't know what to make of things because, well, we see things going in a way that we believe is bad. Even when our own lives are just okay, but we feel that the world is going in the wrong direction. Sometimes we feel like we're carrying the burden of the world on our shoulders. And that usually translates to despair, frustration, irritation, because there is absolutely nothing we believe that we can do about it. This is one of those thoughts we have that sometimes would trigger this feeling that we have. You see, some people decide to go into politics because they feel that they don't like the way things are going, and they genuinely believe and want that to change. So they do what, of course, any patriot would do. Because if you see your country is going in the wrong direction, you cannot just sit by idle and not do anything. So you do whatever you feel is appropriate to do. Some people join the armed forces, others run for public office, and others do things that contribute, sometimes not as flashy as a senator or congressman on the floor arguing his or her point, but rather more subtle level. The topic today, which is in segment 1, if you've been watching this program, we have 3 segments every day, weekday. At 10 a.m. we have the first segment in which we usually read the Mueller report. At least we continue to read the Mueller report. Segment 2, we usually debate a topic, could be a topic of the day or whatever is making news that's worth spending some time with. And in segment 2 happen usually at 12 and segment 3 at 2. But sometimes we combine the segment when either there is no reason to have 3 segments, or there is a much more important topic to talk about a little bit longer, so we shrink it from 2 segments to 3 segments. But the bottom line is every weekday that's what we have. And on Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. we usually have discussion about a specific topic, a full discussion, usually 1 hour plus. Those topics are usually controversial, such as abortion, homosexuality, war on blacks, those kind of things. So I strongly encourage you to contribute to a certain extent to this program, whether by your participation, watching, inviting friends to watch, by subscribing to the program. All that is a contribution to help. The feeling of hopelessness or helplessness can sometimes be resolved by doing something that help move the process forward. You alone may not be able to do it, and who can? Not a single individual can. Even the president cannot do anything on his own. So by being part of something that's geared towards that goal, then your contribution, as small as it may be, cannot be overstated, because every little bit counts in the journey towards perfection, in the journey towards making our society better. So take heart if you didn't have a good weekend. Take heart if you feel that things are not going the way that you feel would be better, because taking part usually helps. Now, you may have received a notification before we start the program, and the title is, Are You a Patriot? Now, the expression, the word patriot, has taken so many different meanings in the United States that sometimes it loses its true meaning in general. Some people, in the beginning of the Trump administration, you notice that some people equate being a patriot to standing during the national anthem and put a hand on the chest, and to those individuals, that's all there is to it as far as patriotism. I have encountered really great number of people who think that because they are American, they are automatically patriots. That also is unfortunate, because that could explain why certain actions are considered okay, because if the meaning of that important word is lost, then you can do anything you want and you still think you're a patriot. Well, a patriot is someone who would defend his or her country, sometimes at the cost of his or her life, from any enemy, foreign or domestic. That includes Russia, in case that wasn't obvious enough. That means if a foreign entity, that includes WikiLeaks, whether it's a state or a foreign entity, whatever that entity is, if a foreign entity is trying to involve itself or try to impact your way of life in the country, you cannot be collaborating with that foreign entity, because that's not patriotism. In fact, that's unpatriotic, and in some instances it could even be considered as betrayal, treason. So putting your hand on the chest during the national anthem doesn't make one a patriot. And if one cannot get himself or herself to completely oppose, and no amount of rationale can justify anyone who claims to be a patriot to collaborate with a foreign entity and still believe that he or she is a patriot. There is no rationale. It's like someone who does something to harm the country, and now depending on the harm, sometimes some harm are difficult to recover from. Such was the meddling of Russia in our election. Now, many people, as I talk to a lot of my fellow Republicans, believe that Russia did not do anything as far as their vote. Of course, they can continue to say that. We humans, we behave, we act on information. Sometimes subtle information, sometimes overt information. And that's why advertising works. If that's not the case, then it would be a complete waste of time for any business to spend money on advertising. The whole point is to put the message in front of you on a regular basis so that they can influence your decision. Now, you may think you go to the store and you buy item A instead of item B, and you say, I made my decision. Of course you did. Nobody forced you to buy item A instead of item B. But your decision to buy item A instead of item B is because something influenced that decision. You can argue all you want, but unfortunately that's how we humans make decisions, and there is no if and but about it. denying it doesn't make it any different, that doesn't make it any less true. So during the 2016 presidential election, according to the Mueller report, more than 122 million Facebook users were exposed on a regular basis, daily, sometimes hourly, to messages from Russia, disparaging information about Hillary Clinton, positive, good information about Donald Trump. Yes, you can claim all you want that Russia did not do anything. Yes, Russia did hack into the Republican brain, and Russia did change our election for good. It's actually, in fact, my argument is the hacking of the servers were the least of our worries. Not that it was okay, but the hacking of the Republican brain actually has a long-lasting, very long-lasting impact in our nation. So no, Republican, you can claim all you want. You make your decision on your own. Yes, you had to go to the poll. Russia couldn't do that for you. But you made your decision based on a deluge of information that you were being bombarded with by Russia. Information day in, day out. You read about it, it reinforces it. You read that Hillary Clinton is bad, and you read something, and then you read it again. You read it in some other venue. You read some more about it. By the time the election, the time for you to vote, you already decided that Hillary Clinton is too bad for you to vote for her. Yes, Russia did impact the election, the 2016 election. And you start seeing all the good things about Donald Trump as a candidate. So as much as Republicans want to argue that Russia has absolutely nothing to do with their vote, you can fool yourself into believing that. The process of making decisions always based on information. Always. No human being can escape that. You would not decide to take a pill for ulcer if you have a headache, would you? And how did you make that decision? Well, nobody forced you not to take the ulcer pill. Nobody forced you to take the pill that would pass the headache. But how did you come to that decision? Any idea? Well, I know, because your decision was based on information that you have, that an aspirin will help, not a ulcer pill. So the denying of the fact that you made your decision based on the deluge, the avalanche of information that Russia put in front of you on a daily basis during the 2016 presidential election, not only you get this information, your friends send it to you, your friends send it to you. The information circle around for 2016 for as long as Donald Trump was there, not only repeating the same thing you're hearing or you're reading from Russia bots, from Russia hacks. In fact, as I mentioned before, 20 million people approximately did not go to vote. And you know what's ironic about it? Russia also impacted their decision, because those people claim they would never have voted for Trump, but they were also disgusted by all the information they learned about Hillary Clinton. Where did you think they learned this information? So yes, Republicans, you may want to deny it all you can, because that make you feel good. That make you feel like you were in control of your vote, but you were not. In fact, even up to today, you continue to make decisions based on those information that are still having its influence, its impact on our lives. Yes, you give yourself all kind of rationale for that. And that's the way we human beings are. We have to justify our action so that it doesn't look like somebody else influences our decision. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is. We don't have any way of escaping that. So we make decisions, no matter who you are, no matter what your level of education is, no matter where you are in life, whether you're rich, poor, black, white, it just doesn't matter. We who belong to the human species, make decision based exclusively on available information. There is no if and but about that. So denying it is just a way to deprive yourself of understanding how serious what happened during the 2016 was. That a foreign entity hacked into the brains of all the constituents of one political party, because the report had to do with physical evidence, which Mueller found that Russia hacked into the DNC and the DCCC server, Democrat servers. So that's the only thing that Mueller could put his hands on, tangible proof, and that's what's on the report. But the greatest damage that Russia did was not on the servers. The greatest damage was hacking the Republican constituent brain and caused damage, or I don't want to say permanent damage, but that's near permanent damage. But as you probably already know, it's difficult to solve a problem unless, well, for people who have a problem, it's difficult to help those individuals unless they can come to acknowledge that indeed there is a problem. Because up to today, the only thing we've been facing with is millions of individuals continue to believe that they made their own decision, not realizing that those decisions were heavily impacted, influenced by what they were exposed to. And let me say that again, you could not make those decisions on your own. You made decisions based on information that were available to you, and at that time those information tell you no Hillary, all for Clinton, for Trump, because Hillary was bad. And those information, a lot of disparaging information. So no, Republicans, you did not make your decision on your own. Russia made the decision for you. You went to the poll, yes. Whether you drove, you biked, you walked, you got on a horse, however you got to the poll, you went to the poll. But you did not make the decision. Russia made the decision for you. Unless you get to the point of understanding that was the case, first, you will not understand the severity of the problem, or you refuse to understand the severity of the problem, and because you refuse to, and you don't want to acknowledge how bad that is, then as far as solution, you're not looking for a solution because you're fine with the way things are. As such, we will begin the reading of the Mueller report. We will rather continue the reading of the Mueller report in order to, well, continue to uncover all the details of what had happened during the 2016. Of course, I could not possibly read the whole report in one day, so I read it in a piecemeal fashion. So I hope you join me every time. That's every weekday starting at 10 a.m. The first segment, that's what we do. We read the Mueller report. Now, if you are a patriot and you come to understand that your decision was influenced by a foreign entity, it is time to answer the question: am I a patriot? I didn't ask, are you an American citizen? I didn't ask, do you put your hand on the chest during the national anthem? I did not ask that. I asked, are you a patriot? A patriot is an individual who would, even at the cost of his or her life, defend his country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. As it stands, based on information we have available, Russia hacked into our election and changed everything. That is enough for any patriot to act on. Are you a patriot?
Live from New York City at the top of the hour, every weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Fourth Branch presents discussions, debates, commentaries on social, political issues, current events, sports, entertainment, religion, education, science, and every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. for a full presentation on controversial issues such as abortion, homosexuality, war on blacks. Are Republicans dumber than Democrats? Information which might irritate you, make you cry, make you laugh, but above all, will make you smarter. Join us every time. It is the right thing to do. It is the only way to keep your sanity in a world of chaos, hypocrisy, immorality, and deception. Welcome to Common Sense.
As mentioned, we will continue the reading of the Mueller report. We are still reading volume 1, and the next section that we will be reading is March 31st Foreign Policy Team Meeting. That's the section in the Mueller report from which we will start today. Hello again, I am MD, your host for the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. If you are a patriot, you cannot not be outraged, because this is not a matter of being Democrat or being Republican, because the very reason that our democracy survives is because of that very structure of our government. The minute that you don't have any oversight, then at that point, the idea of democracy in the United States of America ceases to exist. The Mueller report is a very important document. In fact, it's an extraordinary document. It is not a report that is produced every time we have a new president. That report was produced because something terrible happened to our nation. A foreign entity, Russia, our fiercest enemy, our number one enemy, attacked our democracy. But what makes the document even all the more important, critical even for people of this generation to take seriously, is because we had individuals right here in our government as well as citizens who participated, of course, in the Mueller report, some willingly, some unwillingly, some knowingly, some unknowingly. Regardless, my mother always used to say, it takes two to tango. In fact, it is true that without the collaboration of people in the Trump administration, in the Trump team then as a candidate, it would have not been possible. Yes, Russia has always been trying to hack into our system of government, to try to disturb our system of democracy. Since the end of the Cold War, rather, that has been the case. My fellow Republicans, having lost all sort of argument in regards to that matter, now come with the most interesting argument. They keep spreading this idea that Democrats would have accepted help as well. I already answered to that. You will find my answer posted on the peoplebranch.org shortly. That no, Democrats would not have. In fact, 3 times in the history of our country, Russia approached Democrats to provide help to Democrats candidate, just like they approached Donald Trump. 3 times. And all 3 times, Democrats say thanks, but no thanks. So no, Democrats would not have danced with our enemy, would not have collaborated with our enemy, because Democrats understand this is our government, this is our democracy. Being in bed with an enemy destroy that democracy. So no, Democrat would not have. Democrat never takes a bullhorn and claim to be patriot all over the place, but Democrats act like patriots because Democrats are patriots. Even the Bible said that you will recognize a true Christian by their action, not by their words, because anybody can claim to be a Christian. So no, this argument that Democrats would have accepted the help in order to prove that it was okay to do so, it's a bad argument. In fact, if you were to know, or if you were to believe that Democrats would have accepted that help, then we have a much more serious problem. That we have people in our country who does not care about our democracy, who does not care about our constitution, and would have done anything for a political win. No, Republicans, Democrats would not have accepted any help from any foreign entity. In fact, Democrats would not have accepted any help, period. You may recall in 2000, the Al Gore campaign received a document containing dirt about George W. Bush sent to his office. You know what they did? They took the whole thing and turned it over to FBI. No, Republican. The argument is false, and it's not a defense. Democrat would not have accepted it because it's bad, it's wrong, it's treason to accept that a foreign entity get involved in a system of government so that you can have a win. Is not politics. So it is serious. Today, the idea is not to argue the case that, well, it's politics, a Democrat would have accepted it. No, the argument today is not that. If you are a patriot, the argument is we did something terribly bad and we should make certain that it never happen again. That should be the argument for anyone who is a patriot in this country. Not condoning it, not justifying it, not turning it into it's politics. No, it's not. It is bad for our nation. Robert Mueller uncovered all that. As I mentioned before, Robert Mueller is not your problem. Robert Mueller did not cause Donald Trump's team to interact with Russia. That's not what Robert Mueller did. Robert Mueller went to work as a patriot to uncover the damage or damages that those particular activities have caused to our nation. So you don't have a Robert Mueller problem. What you have is a problem in a political party that has abandoned any sort of value that they claim to have, including even being patriot, in order to get a win by soliciting and accepting help from a foreign entity. That, you may call it whatever you want, but it is nothing short of treason. So the idea, my fellow Republican, is not to try to justify what you've done. It's not to try to justify or bash Democrats or trying to justify it was okay. No, it was not okay. Putting your hand on the chest during national anthem doesn't make you a patriot. Saying you are a patriot doesn't make you a patriot. Democrats, on the other hand, who very rarely even say those kind of things, and yet they live the lives of patriots. 3 times Russia approached Democrat. As I mentioned, watch the peoplebranch.org website. That's where I would put the publication to provide you proof, dates, and circumstances under which Russia approached Democrats' candidate for president, just like they approached Donald Trump. But all 3 times, Democrat refused. And you know what's even more ironic? All 3 times, the Democrat candidate lost the election, but they kept their dignity, and they said out loud they rather be patriot than just getting a political win and betray the country. Yes, Democrat would embrace a loss in order to protect the integrity of our Constitution, in order to preserve our democracy. No, my fellow Republicans, Democrats would not have done what Republicans did. And this is not a defense. The best way to solve any problem is to recognize the problem. And Republicans keep rationalizing what they did as if it was okay to do. It wasn't. Let's take a quick look at a short video of Robert Mueller explaining what Donald Trump has done. And we will come back to continue the reading of the report in just a moment.
The order appointing me special counsel authorized us to investigate actions that could obstruct the investigation. And we conducted that investigation, and we kept the office of the acting attorney general apprised of the progress of our work. And as set forth in the report, after that investigation, if we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so.
If you are a patriot, you cannot not be outraged. Because this is not a matter of being Democrat or being Republican. Because the very reason that our democracy survives is because of that very structure of our government. The minute that you don't have any oversight, then at that point, the idea of democracy in the United States of America ceases to exist. March 31st, Foreign Policy Team Meeting. The campaign held a meeting of the Foreign Policy Advisory Team with Senator Sessions and candidate Trump approximately 1 week later on March 31st, 2016, in Washington, D.C. The meeting, which was intended to generate press coverage for the campaign, took place at the Trump International Hotel. Papadopoulos flew to Washington for the event. At the meeting, Senator Sessions sat at one end of an oval table while Trump sat at the other. As reflected in the photograph below, which was posted to Trump's Instagram account, Papadopoulos sat between the two seats to Sessions' left. During the meeting, each of the newly announced foreign policy advisors introduced themselves and briefly described their areas of experience or expertise. Papadopoulos spoke about his previous work in the energy sector and then brought up a potential meeting with Russian officials. Specifically, Papadopoulos told the group that he had learned through his contact in London that Putin wanted to meet with candidate Trump and that these connections could help arrange that meeting. Trump and Sessions both reacted to Papadopoulos' statement. Papadopoulos and campaign advisor J.D. Gordon, who told investigators in an interview that he had a crystal clear recollection of the meeting, have stated that Trump was interested in and receptive to the idea of a meeting with Putin. Papadopoulos understood Sessions to be similarly supportive of his efforts to arrange a meeting. Gordon and two other attendees, however, recalled that Sessions generally opposed the proposal, though they differ in their account of the concern he voiced or the strength of the opposition he expressed. George Papadopoulos learned that Russia has dirt in the form of Clinton email. Whatever Sessions' precise words at the March 31st meeting, Papadopoulos did not understand Sessions or anyone else in the Trump campaign to have directed that he refrain from making further efforts to arrange a meeting between the campaign and the Russian government. To the contrary, Papadopoulos told the office that he understood the campaign to be supportive of his efforts to arrange such a meeting. Accordingly, when he returned to London, Papadopoulos resumed those efforts. Throughout April 2016, Papadopoulos continued to correspond with, meet with, and seek Russia contact through Mifsud and, at times, Polonskaya. For example, within a week of her initial March 24 meeting with him, Polonskaya attempted to send Papadopoulos a text message which email exchanges show to have been drafted or edited by Mifsud, addressing Papadopoulos' wish to engage with the Russian Federation. When Papadopoulos learned from Mifsud that Polonskaya had tried to message him, he sent her an email seeking another meeting. Polonskaya responded the next day that she was back in St. Petersburg but would be very pleased to support Papadopoulos' initiative between our two countries and to meet him again. Papadopoulos stated in reply that he thought a good step would be to introduce him to the Russian ambassador in London and that he would like to talk to the ambassador or anyone else you recommend about a potential foreign policy trip to Russia. Mifsud, who had been copied on the email exchanges, replied on the morning of April 11, 2016. He wrote, quote, "This is already been agreed. I'm flying to Moscow on the 18th for a Valdai meeting, plus other meeting at the Duma. We will talk tomorrow." End of quote. The two bodies referenced by Mifsud are part of or associated with the Russian government. The Duma is a Russian legislative assembly, while Valdai refers to the Valdai Discussion Club, a Moscow-based group that is close to Russia's foreign policy establishment. Papadopoulos thanked Mifsud and said that he would see him tomorrow. For her part, Polonskaya responded that she had already alerted my personal link to our conversation and your request. That, quote, "We are all very excited the possibility of a good relationship with Mr. Trump," end of quote, and that, quote, "the Russian Federation would love to welcome him once his candidature would be officially announced," end of quote. Papadopoulos and Mifsud's mention of seeing each other tomorrow reference a meeting that the two had scheduled for the next morning, April 12, 2016, at the Andaz Hotel in London. Papadopoulos acknowledged the meeting during interviews with the office, and records from Papadopoulos' UK cell phone and his internet search history all indicate that the meeting took place. Following the meeting, Mifsud traveled as planned to Moscow. On April 18, 2016, while in Russia, Mifsud introduced Papadopoulos over email to Ivan Timofeev, a member of the Russian International Affairs Council, RIAC. Mifsud had described Timofeev as having connection with the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MFA, the executive entity in Russia responsible for Russian foreign relations. Over the next several weeks, Papadopoulos and Timofeev had multiple conversations over Skype and email about setting the, quote, "groundwork for a potential meeting between the campaign and Russian government officials." Papadopoulos told the office that on one Skype call, he believed that his conversation with Timofeev was being monitored or supervised by an unknown third party because Timofeev spoke in an official manner and Papadopoulos heard odd noises on the line. Timofeev also told Papadopoulos in an April 25, 2016 email that he had just spoken to Igor Ivanov, the president of RIAC and former foreign minister of Russia, and convey Ivanov's advice about how best to arrange a Moscow visit. After a stop in Rome, Mifsud returned to England on April 25, 2016. The next day, Papadopoulos met Mifsud for breakfast at the Andaz Hotel, the same location as their last meeting. During that meeting, Mifsud told Papadopoulos that he had met with high-level Russian government officials during his recent trip to Moscow. Mifsud also said that on the trip he learned that the Russians had obtained dirt on candidate Hillary Clinton. As Papadopoulos later stated to the FBI, Mifsud said that the dirt was in the form of emails of Clinton and that they have thousands of emails. On May 6, 2016, 10 days after that meeting with Mifsud, Papadopoulos suggested to a representative of a foreign government that the Trump campaign had received indication from the Russian government that it could assist the campaign through the anonymous release of information that would be damaging to Hillary Clinton. Please join us again in 2 hours, in which we will continue discussion of, again, very important topic right here on the Fourth Branch program. As far as for the Mueller report, you can join us again tomorrow at 10 a.m. when we will continue the reading of the Mueller report. I am MD, and this is the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. That was an update through the prism of common sense. Join us again at the top of the hour. I am MD, host of the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. Send us comments, criticism, suggestion, or simply let us know how we're doing. Thank you for watching. See you in just a bit.
The Fourth Branch podcast is brought to you in collaboration with the People Branch publication, which can be found on the People Branch website, located at peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org website, in which you will find a number of very interesting articles. My name is Mike Duchesne, MD for short. I hope you have a great afternoon or a great evening, whichever it happens to be. Hopefully you can join me again next time for another interesting episode of this podcast. That was the Fourth Branch, live from New York. Good day.